Next is he says how to build citations for multiple cities' website. Do you offer GMB verification for your local clients? I ask this because I'm not sure if this is risky and we should limit this to our own properties. Should we do this for a client with a service business that can serve multiple cities? Yeah, you can. I mean, that's something I upsold to a lot of my clients, was adding additional locations. And I'm using air quotes because a lot of my clients didn't actually go get physical, additional office spaces or shops, because most of them are contractors. But we did add additional maps listings for a lot of my clients. However, I always recommend taking precautions if you're going to do that for a business. Like if you're doing it for lead gen stuff, you understand the risks, right? So that, use them at your own risk. But when you're dealing with clients, you have to be more careful, right? You do not want to do anything that could essentially pass a penalty to their main brand or their main domain, their main location. So whenever I've upsold maps expansion or location expansion to existing clients, then what I would do is either just use subdomains from their root domain for each location, or I would avoid using their domains altogether and just use GMB assets, which would be the GMB website, GMB post, the map itself, that kind of stuff. And then obviously it would be branded still for the main company. They would all have their own unique tracking numbers that would would all forward to the main phone number for that company. Typically, they would either have an in-house receptionist that would answer the phone, or I would set up an answering service, like I've been doing for my lead gen stuff forever. And so all the locations would go to the same destination phone number, but all of the individual locations would have a unique physical address, a unique phone number, and a unique web address. If it was going to be used with their branded domain, we would always use subdomains, not inner pages. So not like location pages, it would always be subdomains. And typically I wouldn't even build websites on them, on the subdomains. I would just do a redirect from the subdomain to the GMB website, if that makes sense. But in some cases I recommended not even, and it's just, again, for those clients that were worried about it, I said, we don't even need to use your domain. We can just use the GMB website as the main website for each location. The idea is to get the leads to go to the main, the leads back to your client, the business. It doesn't necessarily, as long as you can brand it with the same logo and the same like header image, so the GMB website image, that kind of stuff, the header image on that, all of that, that's all that you really need to brand it. And the rest of it can still be left within just GMB, which is what I recommend. So it really depends on the level of risk that your clients are willing to take. I always recommend trying to reduce or eliminate risk as much as possible. So the only thing that would stay the same would be their name. But we've actually had a discussion recently in the mastermind. I'm not going to get too much into it, but appending an additional term to the actual business name to make it more unique. So for example, if you had 4 locations in one city, you could name it like north, south, east, and west. So company name north, company name east, company name south, company name west. And that actually helps to add a little bit of diversity to the business name too, to prevent any potential pigeon issues. But like I said, I still wouldn't recommend actually connecting any of those assets directly to the primary business's location or website, because you want to reduce any risk. If that makes sense. Okay. As far as building citations, I don't build citations to GMB assets unless they are real bona fide businesses that I have or addresses, that I have access to collect mail from. And I've talked about that for many, many months now. If you're buying GMB verified GMB locations, that means it's a spammed address, or it's an address that you do not have access to collect mail from or at. Does that make sense? So the problem with building citations is the moment that you start building citations, because most citation directories or business directories require a physical street address in order to build the listing. And the moment that you start adding your business or publishing a listing on a business directory with the street address, okay, you're going to get on that street address is going to be put onto a marketing mailing list for physical mail via United States Postal Service. And what happens is that location, that address that you use, will start to receive business related mail that's addressed to the company that you have listed as the GMB. And so if it's going to an actual building that, or to somebody's house, God forbid, I recommend that nobody ever uses somebody's house address unless that's their own house or they got permission to do it. But if it's going to a building or a house and somebody starts getting physical mail with solicitation offers from marketing companies and Vistaprint and list providers like Info USA and like all these different, I know because I get a ton of them myself. You start getting all these marketing mails, these solicitation mails for offers for the business, then it's likely that somebody's going to report that business is not being actually at that location. So I highly recommend that you don't do that. You can get results without citations. If you have a physical address that you can accept mail at, then I absolutely recommend using citations because it is still very powerful and effective. But you can still get results without using citations. And if you're using GMBs that are not, you don't have access to the actual physical address, then I recommend that you do not. Okay. Do the other things.